Hey, bestie. Let's be real for a second. How often do you find that you stop yourself from asking, launching, applying, inviting, pitching because the thought of someone saying no feels unbearable? But what if I told you that no doesn't equal failure? It's actually a powerful psychological strategy for growth, resilience, and success. Today, you and I are going to have a nice little chat about how the mindset shift changed my business, my relationship, and honestly, me. We're diving into the psychology of going for no and how that one little word, one teeny, tiny little word, can actually lead to more alignment, more abundance, and more peace. What person in their right mind wouldn't want that? No bestie of mine, that's for sure. Why do we even stinking care about this? Well, rejection sensitivity is actually a real psychological phenomenon. For many, it triggers these deep emotional wounds around worth and belonging. Insert attachment theory here. And if we avoid no, friend, we also avoid yes. And then we keep ourselves small. Positive psychology talks about how people who take healthy risks, practice resilience, and pursue meaningful goals even when they fail. Report higher life satisfaction. That seems important. Most people are playing not to lose, they're just not playing to win. And when you go for no, it flips that fear based script. So, friend, what if your goal this week wasn't actually to avoid hearing no, but to collect it? So, let's talk about what this whole concept is, what it isn't. So, by the way, going for no is a mindset and a strategy that actually encourages you to pursue rejection intentionally and to build resilience and to normalize taking risks. We live in a world where we avoid rejection like the plague, when in actuality, if we got brave, it would help us. It's not about seeking rejection to feel bad. It's about seeking aligned action regardless of the outcome. I mean, have you ever not done something because you were like, I'm going to fail at it anyways? Why even try? What if they say no? But what if they say yes? So, if you've listened to me for any period of time at all, and if you haven't, welcome to the party. I have dealt with infertility struggles for a really long time, and I have two beautiful children that have come into my life in different ways and that have been a part of my journey. And recently, I was thinking about our next baby, and I had this thought of, well, what if it doesn't work? Because, by the way, that's a potential outcome is that you put an embryo in and it doesn't implant, or it does, but then something isn't right about it. And then it doesn't make it to a full term healthy baby. So, should I not try because it might not work? And so, anyways, I this was happening in my brain, and I was driving, and I was like, well, what if it doesn't work? And then I thought, well, what if it does? What what if it does? Or, what if the next few don't work, but one of them along the way does? That's a going for no, regardless of the outcome. I'm not seeking something because it's going to make me feel bad. Because, by the way, I would totally be sad if we put our next little baby in and that baby doesn't stick. I feel really sad about that. You get that, right? if I didn't do it because it might not work, I might get a no. Well, then I might as well, it's like, don't even do it anyways. One of my favorite sayings is, you can't hit if you don't swing. I appreciate students all the time who email me and are like, hey, so this is happening in my life and whatever. And I'm like, hey, can't hit if you don't swing, but no. Or sometimes I'm like, hey, I appreciate that because you asked, you also get whatever it is. You never know what's going to happen. Is it Wayne Gretzky? I don't know. So many people have been credited with this quote that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So NLP has this concept called the map is not the territory. Stay with me. I'm going to explain. So most people think that a no is a personal rejection, but in truth, it's just information. It's a response to a specific ask at a specific moment, filtered through someone else's world. The map is not the territory. Ultimately, the map is not the territory is about labels, and that somehow the word that we use represents something else. Again, like no actually means a personal rejection. Again, it might be a response to a specific ask at a specific moment, filtered through someone else's world. I think about I have I have students sometimes that are single mamas, and I have mad respect for single mamas. And every once in a while, I have a single mama that's like, hey, this is what I'm juggling and I'm really struggling. And could I have an extension on my assignment? And it's in a specific ask at a specific moment, filtered through someone else's world, my world as a mom that knows how difficult it is to manage my own world, much less if I was doing it alone. So when you take that, I'm like, yeah, okay, mom. Then, I have another person that's like, oh, I'm moving or I'm traveling. And I'm like, why did you do this? Why did you take this class while you were why you knew that you were moving? Like, whatever. It's just so silly. But you think about at a specific ask, at a specific moment, maybe filtered through my mood, my world. The map is not the territory. I want you to just see this. We attach, friend, so much meaning to know what no actually means. From a Stoic perspective, we understand we have this takeaway that you can't control the response. You can only control the ask and how you show up. That's it. So when you go to get up to the plate and you're going to swing, which is your ask, you cannot control how the person responds, only how you show up, only how you prepare. In some ways, by the way, that's incredibly freeing because it like goes, hey, I can't control the outcome. All I can control is me. That's it. My husband and I stole this from him, so I can't claim it. But I feel like I say it enough that maybe I can. But the only things that you can control, the two things that you can control are your attitude and your effort. And so when I think about what I can control, it's the ask and how I show up, my attitude, how I present myself, and the effort of how I show up. That's it. That's it. So, how do you do this whole going for no thing? Well, first, you need to reframe what no actually means. I started to allude to this concept with the map is the territory, because as NLP teaches, the meaning that you assign to an experience shapes your emotional response. I'm going to say that again. The meaning you assign to an experience shapes your emotional response. Um, I was having this is just an example. I was talking to a coaching client recently, and she's having a negative experience with someone, and I was like, "Hey, listen, you need to give this experience, this person, a different label, and a label that didn't have the same kind of meaning. I use the word cute often, that somebody does something that's cute. If I'm like, why in the world are they doing that? Versus annoying. Annoying has a different emotion. It will elicit in a different emotional response from me than like, oh, that's cute. So again, the meaning that you assign to an experience shapes your emotional response. You need to reframe what no means. If no means that you failed, then no needs to mean that you tried, that you're building courage. If no means that you suck and people hate you, then you have to go, well, no just means that they aren't interested in what I'm asking. Doesn't mean that it's about me. Sometimes we have to have these new identity statements where we say things like, I'm someone who takes aligned action, even if the answer isn't guaranteed. I can't guarantee the outcome, and I can guarantee how I'm going to show up. It is so important, friend, that we go for no. I think about, I have a program that teaches other clinicians how to do breakthroughs. So if you're a clinician, newsflash, you can learn how I do some of the stuff that I do super fast. And it's not for everyone, which is totally okay. But I have to be willing to talk about it. I have to tell people about it. And they may say no, or not right now, or it's not for me. And what happens is, when people say no, eventually it leads me to someone that says yes, someone who does align with this type of model, someone that does align with where I'm going as a person. So when I just keep talking about it, knowing that the answer is going to be no, I also don't take it personally. It's not about me, that they don't like me. It's that they're not interested in what I'm teaching. That's a way different experience, because when it becomes personal, that's also when all of those negative feelings start to show up. So the reason that those negative feelings start to show up is where I come to number two, which is you need to uncover the emotional baggage that's connected to rejection. Often, the fear of rejection, the fear of no, is tied to unconscious beliefs like, I'm not enough. If I get rejected, I'll be abandoned. I have to earn love and approval. So, friend, this is really where I encourage you to do your own inner work, to do a breakthrough session, to really clear out some emotional charge so that no stops feeling like shame, so that no stops feeling like something is wrong with you. I mean, I really want you to think about this. What is it in your life that you have been saying no to? That if you no to trying, no to doing, fearing the no, that if you were willing to go after whatever it is and not fear the no, what would you be doing? And what would the outcome potentially be? What when eventually you got a yes? Because number three is you need to set a no goal. And this is actually really great for salespeople. Maybe, and maybe you need to just make new friends. Sometimes people talk about how making friends as an adult is really hard. And I'm not saying that it's not. My daughter today she was at Peppa Pig World, and she met a little girl, and her and this little girl were like thick as thieves immediately. And they're like holding hands and going on rides together and not thinking about anything else. There was probably no no's in there. And you want to think about how, if you're wanting to build friendships, cultivate something more, something deeper, maybe more friends or deeper relationships, maybe you need to set a no goal for, like, hey, can you go out to dinner this week? Can you have coffee with me? That you're going for 10 no's because eventually you're going to get a yes with someone that you'd like to get to know. Whatever it is, if it's sales, if it's friendships, I think about that. I don't, not that men don't listen to this podcast, but it's more for my girls. Y'all probably aren't really asking many people out on dates, but I think about how like dating is a numbers game, that a lot of times there's lots of no's before there's a yes. I mean, maybe someone listening to me is like, oh my gosh, I hate dating apps. They suck so much. And it's like there's so many no's. I have to swipe 100 times, I have to get 100 no's before I find a yes. And this is actually a strategy that I have encouraged clients of mine before, where it's like, hey, listen, I just want you, rather than going, all right, I need to find 5 men that I'm interested in or I think are attractive or seem interesting. It's like, all right, let's find 100 or 200 or whatever the number is. Let's find 100 that you're not interested in. And along the way, and maybe it's not that day, but somewhere along the way, you're going to come across somebody that you'd like to swipe on and say yes to. So when you set a goal for no, this actually bypasses perfectionism. It reduces outcome attachment and increases desensitization to rejection. Well, that seems important because, you get more yeses in the process. And sometimes I didn't say this earlier, but I really do think it bears mentioning here that so many times we get so stuck to the outcome of whatever it has to look like. And then when it doesn't look exactly like that, we get so disappointed, so down because it had to look the way that we thought that it should look. That it feels like a rejection. And I spent 9 years trying to carry a baby. Finally did. 2 term, whoop. But I had so many visions, pictures along the way of how this was supposed to go. And I was attached to the outcome. Eventually I had to learn to release my outcome. But I was attached to the outcome. And then it makes the no, whatever the no is, that much harder. Friend, when you are willing to have a no goal, it's going to build confidence in you. It starts to it's like it puts this sort of protection bubble around you that eventually no is kind of like water off a duck's back, because maybe the results aren't actually what you want them to be at first. But if you're like, all right, I'm going for 100 no's today, well, then you're not going to let the first 2, 10, 20 no's impact you, because you're like, I got to get 100 today. Now, again, that might be sales. That might not apply to all other areas, but it's like that asking to different friends to go have dinner or coffee this week. Well, if it, as adults, if it's short-term notice, they may already have plans. And if you attach too much to the first 1 or 2 no's, you're not going to ask the next 8. And by the way, maybe it was number 9 that said yes. And so you didn't get to have that relationship because you were too attached to the outcome, too much meaning. Now, it's so important that you celebrate courage, not just the outcome. You need to create a ritual or a habit where you track and celebrate each ask. Positive psychology calls this agency thinking. This is where we build belief in our ability to take action towards meaningful goals. And the more that you celebrate the process and not the result, the more the brain goes, all right, I like this. I'm proud of myself for asking because it's a part of who I'm becoming. I think about this isn't necessarily no, but this is a picture of agency. I think about what birthday was it? Oh man, I don't even remember. I'm not even going to try. For one of my birthdays in in my 30s, I decided that I was going to run a half marathon. I wanted to do something hard. That was hard for me. I don't identify as a runner in any capacity. And so I was like, cool, I'm going to do this thing. And I felt like every time I was doing it, it was so hard. But after every time I practiced, which is like I went on a long run, uh, I would jump high five myself. And that's super silly, but it was a way that I celebrated myself. My husband often would high five me, but I high fived myself first. I was celebrating the process. I hadn't yet made it to the outcome, which was running the full half marathon. And so after I did that, I jumped high fived myself, and then I high fived my husband and my friends who were awesome and ran with me. Friend, if we only celebrate the outcome, then the brain isn't looking for more of that. But if we're like, cool, I asking a friend to dinner was really hard for me and she said no, but I did it, and that's awesome that I did it. And the more that you celebrate, you're you're a bad mama jamma and you're amazing and somebody's going to say yes, and I'm so proud of you, and it's so good that you asked because it's so hard for you to do it and you did it anyways because you can do hard things and you're freaking amazing. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Moana, this picture again, I'm a mama, but it's like in Moana, there's a scene where it's like, Maui, Maui, you're so amazing. Ah. We have to do that to ourselves. We have to be like, Brittany, 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 you're so amazing. Ah. And celebrate that. And by the way, the sillier you are with it, the more the brain catches on to it because it's something that's new and different. It's not your everyday. So I really want to encourage you, celebrate the process. Okay. Next, number 5. This is my last strategy for you today in going for no, is that you need to visualize yourself asking with confidence. NLP calls this future pacing when you're visualizing. Close your eyes, see yourself asking boldly, receiving a no, and staying grounded. Realizing that your worth didn't budge with the no that you got. And that you really feel the feeling in your body of staying grounded, of staying confident, of knowing who you are. And NLP has this other concept called anchoring, and you can actually anchor. I keep saying I need to record this. Maybe I'll do it very soon. You need to learn how to anchor to your body, and it's super simple. Is you feel a feeling, and by the way, if you're feeling it in the moment, it's even better than imagined. But you feel a feeling, confidence, pride, uh, um, like, why can I not pull the word? This picture that I'm recording late. So you feel confidence, pride, you're excited, those sorts of feelings, and you press on a part on your body. Always knuckles are really easy. And you just press on that knuckle every time that you feel that feeling. Or you can imagine it, you can remember it, you can go back to those memories and pull those feelings up and anchor them in your body. And you can also learn to fire that anchor off whenever you need it. I have some very specific ones. Like I have one that I use for when I'm going to speak because I want to be in a very specific state when I'm on stage. So I say that to say ultimately, you need to visualize yourself doing whatever it is, asking with confidence. Now, per my usual, I've got 5 questions for you for self reflection. And I always think that these are the most important part of the episode because if you'll really think through these things, you will expand your understanding of yourself. You'll know where you need to take action and you'll continue to grow. So, the first question is, what do I currently believe that no means about me? Number 2, what's one area where I've been avoiding action out of fear of rejection? 3, what opportunities might be on the other side of no? Number 4, who would I be if I became the person who wasn't afraid to ask? And because we can't leave our conversation without a commitment. Number 5, what's one bold ask I can make this week, even if the answer is no? Because you can't hit if you don't swing. Bestie, your worth isn't on the line every time you ask. You don't need a yes to be valid, to be worthy. When you go for no, friend, you build courage, you build clarity, you build character, and the version of you who can hold what you really want. So be brave. Go ask for no. Go for no. Because, friend, you cannot hit if you don't swing. Okay? I'll see you next week.